suppose for me, I've found this tour really affirming of all the great stuff that we're doing in our system. I came here thinking that I'd be learning lots of new things, but I've realised that we're doing some really great things in Catholic Ed. But thinking about it, I suppose if there was one thing that was a wow factor for me, and that's been working with Michael Fullen and being reminded that we as leaders and teachers in our system have got a real responsibility to create for our children deep learning environments so that they can learn all the 21st century skills and at the end of the day come out of it as great citizens making a difference in this world.
My key takeaway is that the Western Australian Catholic education system is doing really well. We're up there with the best of them. We've learnt so much from within the group, and secondly from well-renowned educationalists, and I'm going to take home the fact that I can put down the ducky.
I think my Canadian PRL experience has afforded me the opportunity to look out in order to look in, and this has been a time for affirmation really for me in regards to my staff's commitment to know the learner, and they gather this knowledge through evidence-informed discussions and also student-focused assessments, which has been one of the key messages while we've been here. I've also learnt that the challenge for our CWA schools is to learn more from one another in regards to good practice. Networks with purpose and learner autonomy is an opportunity for our system to go from good to great. And in the words of my colleague Kathy Bauer, feed the eager and the hunger will grow.
My wow moment came today, on the last day of the whole tour. I was walking back from the Lynn Sharrock second day, and it occurred to me that it doesn't matter what process you use. I've come to Canada and wondered what made them such a great country for achievement. And in each province I've gone to, it's been different. Whether it be spiral of inquiry, whether it be learning sprints, whether it be 21st century learning, whether it be deep learning. How did that all come together? What made it so? And then I thought, each of those schools and each of those systems, they had teachers involved in the decision making, and therefore they had teacher efficacy, which means that they were all on the same page. So that made it the teachers' buy-in, and the teachers had input in that situation. And it kind of comes back to what Hattie says, and he says that's the number one thing for student achievement, is when you've got all the teachers on board. And I think that, along with the relationships these teachers build, just like we do in secular schools in Western Australia, certainly push achievement to the forefront of our minds.
Look, I just think that we've got an amazing system, but I think we could get a little bit better at collaborating with our schools and some better processes for collaboration and just getting to know our schools a bit better.
There were many key learnings, but the most significant one for me was the close relationship that the superintendents had with the principals. The comment was made that the principal knows the superintendent and the superintendent knows the principal, and this relationship enables then the opportunity for principal growth and also growth for the college, and that's something that I really like.
Daniel, I think I've come away from this experience feeling a little overwhelmed to begin with, but I've had affirmed for me that I am a constant learner, and I've been thrilled to learn with colleagues, and our learning has been based around the benefits of collaboration. So I feel challenged and supported by our system to head back and really embrace collegiality and collaboration.
I learned a lot from this study tour. One of the main things was a reaffirmation for me that collaborative leading is my preferred style, and I'm looking forward to encouraging the staff to work collaboratively and develop a collaborative culture.
From this trip. One key learning for me is to bring it back to the kids, is how much the Canadian system here focus on Indigenous issues and creativity. And a key moment learning for me is we've got this amazing Australian curriculum that has general capabilities, so I can't wait to get and explore that.
So my key learning, or my walkout with ideas that I've had from the study tour, is really a bit of an affirmation around the work we're doing in Aboriginal education at Catholic Ed. I think we're heading in the right direction. I need to upskill my space, in my leadership space, around change management, so I can best enable that to happen.
Wow, what an amazing adventure I've been on in my leadership development. But what I wanted to what I've learnt most about, reiterated, affirmed for myself in my learnings, is the fact that we need community of learners. I'm really excited to get back to school and remember to get student voice, and also to remember that we have networks of people that we need to speak to and have connections with in order for our community to develop.
For me, the most amazing thing that I've experienced on this tour is the networking that's been established, and it's networking across our state with all of us, but of course the networking internationally as well. And with that is the realisation and the ability to work with people that our system has been working with for many years, and putting all those things together contextually within our system, and realising that in Catholic schools in Western Australia we're doing a pretty good job. We have the ability to have the child at the centre at all times, and the ability to move forward with our learning and our understandings together collegially.
You mentioned a number of ways we can do that. Obviously relationships are always very important, and he said that that's important at all levels, with staff and also with the students. And as well as that, we need to engage them through what he calls the 6 C's. And that's things like collaboration, critical thinking, character. So all of those things will make learning more relevant for the learners.
Lots, Daniel. The visible authenticity and Catholic witness of staff in our Catholic schools here, particularly today at St. Catherine Siena. I thought that was marvellous. The face of Jesus on our staff there, that was fantastic. With the spiral of inquiry, the growth mindset was really important to me at this particular time in my journey, and that's something I'll be looking at as we move forward.
My key learning came about when we worked with Ken Leithwood, and he unpacked his 4-pass model. For me, it was just a great insight about how, as a leader, I can have an indirect input on student learning by working in different domains. And what really tied in for me was the emotional zone. I was able to draw comparisons with what Kaiser and Halbert were talking about, with making sure that every child's connected, and with the work of Sharrett around case conferences. So I think it just came back to that whole notion of relationships and making sure that a child feels connected to their school, and what an impact that can have on learning.
The Canada tour spoke relentlessly about being system driven by what is best for children. A total focus on what works best for children in Canada is what my main takeaway was. I learnt that system improvement should be modelled by schools, so school improvement being modelled by system, modelled by schools. For this to happen, our school-facing directorates, I believe, need to ask themselves this question: what do we have to clear the decks for this to happen? As Michael Fullen told us, once we use specificity and candour, I love those words, around this conversation and start to walk the talk together, our very good school system will be able to mix it with the best. What my time in Canada has taught me is that with strategic thinking at a system level, we can identify who knows our schools best and start to build complementary relationships and trust with and for each other. Through this process, CWA directorates can choose to align or perish.
Deeper. I think we need to, as a system, review, in a sense, what we believe learning is, and we need to be focused on how we can support our children to be lifelong learners, and to, from birth, to actually take on important learnings that give them real life grounding, that actually help them to live in their world, to be team players.
I came on this PRL because in my head I had the idea that Canada was at the cutting edge of education, and on the trip I have seen little pockets of that, but what I've learned is that CWA's right up there too, particularly a few of the CWA schools that are right up there in terms of catering for the needs of 21st century kids.
My key takeaway was when we went to the Simon Breakspear. What I learned and got from that was that you can have a professional learning through an individual focus with teachers, and that you actually go on the journey with them, so you learn with the teachers, because as a principal I don't have to know everything and I can't know everything, and for me that was just like a breakthrough moment. It was just wonderful. I thought it was great.
A couple of things on this tour. I really appreciated Ken Leithwood fleshing out how school leaders influence student achievement. It's critical for us, but I also really appreciated Michael Fullen submerging us into his deep learning, and the ultimate result of deep learning is that it's good for humanity.
I suppose one of the highlights in key learnings for this tour for me has been in our visitations to the various schools. What really was inspiring to me was the connection between the system down to the superintendents, the principals, and then the students and teachers. For me it was a highlight because it just showed me how the knowledge of the school that we visited to was well known and well versed amongst all of the stakeholders, and I think that that's very important because you could actually see that permeating through the passion of the teachers, the passion of the district officers, and then that filtered through to the children. I think that's very, very important, so it was a real highlight for me.
My key learning was summed up by Michael Fullen in his phrase that 2018 is the year to change things, that the old ways no longer cut it, but he tied together everything that we had listened to, everything that we had seen. His 6 C's in your blog are the skills that we need to be going through. So my challenge now is to get my leadership team and myself to work with our teachers and with our students and to carry that message forward so that together we are learning beside each other and we are then creating a community of 21st century learners.
Share with us, really looking at the dignity of the individual and looking at giving each student a sense of dignity, a sense of purpose and a sense of options as well.
Because I thought that my wow moment was when we came to listen to Brian Leithwood and then Michael Fulham and then Lynn Sharrett. The culmination of all the things that they talked about are things that we already do in our system, and we have the basis of a very good, or if not outstanding, system if we get together and network and work together as a system and schools together, not just as a system or a set of schools.
Excited, 6C deep learning with Michael Fullen. Where do I go with Simon Shakespeare and learning sprints? Why, I ask you, where would I go to next? Leithwood's 4 paths model of leadership is where I need to go. Woo!